Have you ever caught a faint, unfamiliar scent on your clothes or pillows and wondered, could that be me? It's a question no one likes to ask, but here's a gentle truth. As we age, little changes happen in our bodies that we never expected. It's not about poor hygiene or laziness. It's about the tiny habits that slip under our radar, quietly making a bigger difference than we realize. I have to confess, I used to believe that as long as I showered every day and spritzed on a little perfume, I was safe. Turns out, I was just like you, doing my best, never suspecting that my favorite nightgown, my trusty old bra, or even my beloved shoes could be the source of those grandma smells people joke about. Looking back, I can laugh about it now, but at the time, I felt a mix of embarrassment and confusion. Here's the good news. These issues are simple to solve. You don't need expensive products or exhausting routines. With a few gentle changes, you can feel fresh and confident again, without stress or shame. And trust me, the benefits go beyond just smelling good. Your self-esteem and comfort will thank you, too. So, tell me, do you have a personal self-care tip that makes you feel your best? I'd love to hear your stories and secrets because every woman deserves to age with grace, confidence, and a little bit of laughter. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. 1. Wearing the same bra for too long. There's a kind of comfort in routines, especially as we get older. We find our favorites and we stick with them, almost as if they're old friends. Whether it's our favorite mug for morning coffee, that soft sweater we reach for on chilly evenings, or yes, the perfect bra that somehow just fits right every time. If you're anything like me, you know exactly what I mean. I can still remember the day I found the one. A simple cotton blend bra, not too tight, not too loose, no itchy seams or awkward straps. It was as if it had been tailored for me, and let me tell you, I was in no hurry to let it go. At first, I wore it now and then. Then it was a couple tea times a week, and soon it became my go-to every single laundry cycle. There were other bras in the drawer, sure, but they never measured up. It almost felt like a betrayal to toss my favorite one into the hamper too soon. I reasoned with myself, I barely sweat these days, or, I only wore it for a few hours, surely it's fine. In the busyness of life, doctor's appointments, Zoom calls with the grandkids, puttering around the house, I wasn't about to add bra rotation to my already long mental checklist. But little did I know, there's more to freshening up than meets the eye. We're told our whole lives to wash our hands, to keep our hair clean, to wear fresh socks. But somehow, no one ever mentioned what a difference it makes to change and wash your bra regularly, especially as the years roll by. I wish I could say I learned this from a magazine or a helpful TV segment, but the truth is, it was a moment that caught me by surprise. One of those small but humbling lessons that sneak up on us in everyday life. I was hugging my niece goodbye after a family dinner, her arms tight around my neck, her face nestled in close. I saw her wrinkle her nose, just a tiny bit, and then try to smile it away. In that instant, I realized she'd noticed something I hadn't. A faint, stale smell, the kind you only pick up when you're close. My heart sank. I wasn't hurt, but I was deeply embarrassed. I prided myself on being neat, well-presented, and someone my family could hug with joy. That night, I lay awake, replaying the moment. Was it just in my head, or was my favorite bra letting me down? I did some late-night reading and found out something no one had ever told me. Our skin, especially as we age, behaves differently than it used to. It's thinner, more delicate, and, here's the kicker, it holds on to both bacteria and odors much more easily. Even if we're not breaking a sweat at the gym anymore, our bodies are still producing oils, shedding skin cells, and yes, transferring all that to the fabric closest to our skin. Suddenly, the pieces came together. I thought back to times I'd noticed a musty whiff after bending over to pick something up or when folding laundry. How many times had I just brushed it off as an old house smell, Or maybe the laundry wasn't quite dry. I realized it wasn't the house or the washer, but the quiet build-up of life's little moments accumulating in the fabric I trusted most. So, I did what any curious woman would do. I put my bra to the test. I took a closer look, and sure enough, I could see faint marks from where it hugged under my arms, a slight color change, and a scent that wasn't unpleasant, but certainly wasn't fresh. I remembered reading somewhere that synthetic materials tend to trap odors more than natural fabrics, and my trusty bra was mostly cotton but with a bit of stretch. Still, after days, or honestly, weeks of wearing, it just couldn't keep up. The next morning, I resolved to make a change. I rotated to a different bra, one I'd been ignoring in the drawer, and tossed my favorite into the laundry. But I didn't stop there. I started researching what the experts had to say. It turns out, doctors recommend that we wash our bras every 2 to 3 years. Not just for freshness, but because our skin is more vulnerable to irritation and infection as we age. Any lingering bacteria, sweat, or oils in the fabric can cause not only odors but rashes and discomfort, especially if we have sensitive skin or take medications that thin our skin further. Here's something else I learned. Bras, like shoes, need a rest day. The elastic benefits from time off, helping it keep its shape longer, and our skin appreciates a clean start. I made a little rule for myself: never wear the same bra 2 days in a row, no matter how tempting. I even treated myself to a couple of new bras in soft, breathable fabrics, and donated the ones that had lost their stretch. I felt silly at first, making such a fuss over underwear, but after a few weeks, I noticed a real difference. Not just in scent, but in how I felt about myself. Cleaner, more dignified, and strangely enough, a bit younger. I'll admit that adding a few extra laundry loads each week seemed like a chore. But I reframed it as an act of self-respect, a small ritual that signaled I cared about my comfort as much as anyone else's. Each time I slipped into a freshly laundered bra, I felt a sense of pride, almost as if I was giving myself a little hug, reminding myself that even in the quiet routines of daily life, I mattered. Of course, this new habit didn't just benefit me. My family noticed too, in small, almost unspoken ways. My granddaughter would sit in my lap a little longer during story time. My daughter commented on how nice my laundry always smelled. The best part? I never again saw that little wrinkle on my niece's nose. Instead, hugs felt lighter, more joyful, free from worry about what anyone else might notice. If you're reading this and thinking, "Oh goodness, I do the same thing," you're not alone. There's no shame in it. After all, no one ever tells us these things. We learn as we go, sometimes from doctors, sometimes from loved ones, but often just from the tender lessons life hands us. The important thing is that we have the power to change, to care for ourselves with kindness, and to show the world that age doesn't have to mean giving up on feeling our best. My advice? Treat your bras as you would a favorite scarf or sweater, worthy of care, of rest, of a little extra attention. Choose breathable fabrics when you can. Alternate pairs, so no one bra is overworked. Wash them in gentle detergent, and let them air dry in the sun if possible. A little fresh air does wonders for fabrics, and for our spirits. Above all, remember, you deserve to feel comfortable, clean, and confident every single day. It's not vanity, it's dignity. And it's a quiet kind of self-love that nobody else can give you, but you. So next time you slip into your favorite bra, let it be a reminder, not just of comfort, but of your commitment to yourself. Because you're worth every ounce of care and every fresh, clean start. 2. Not exfoliating underarms. We all have parts of our daily routine that feel so automatic we barely think about them. Wash your face, brush your teeth, a little lotion here and there, and of course, a quick swipe of deodorant before you start the day. But let me ask you, have you ever really paid attention to your underarms beyond that familiar morning gesture? I know I never did, at least not until I was well into my 60s. It's funny, How we can spend decades of our lives focused on being clean and still miss something hiding in plain sight. I grew up believing that soap and water were all a woman needed. Underarms? Give them a quick wash, rinse, and move on. Maybe a dab of powder, if you were feeling fancy, or a spritz of perfume before heading out the door. I did that every day, thinking I was doing everything right. But somewhere along the way, I started to notice a change. It was subtle at first, a faint, sour scent that seemed to linger, even after I'd just showered. I'd catch a whiff if I raised my arm to wave, or when I changed shirts at the end of the day. I'd do a double take, thinking, is that me? And then, like so many women, I brushed it off. It's probably just age. My skin isn't what it used to be. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But deep down, it bothered me. I prided myself on being clean. I took care of myself. I wanted my grandchildren to cuddle close and not wrinkle their noses. I didn't want to be the person people politely avoided hugging. So, I started experimenting. I switched to antibacterial soap, hoping it would solve the problem. I tried a new deodorant, then another, some for sensitive skin, some with extra strength, even a fancy one with eucalyptus oil that cost more than a nice lunch. None of it worked. The odor was always back by midday. Finally, during a routine visit, I mentioned it to my dermatologist. I felt a little embarrassed, like I was admitting some personal failure. She smiled gently and told me, "You're not alone. Most people never think about what's happening under their arms." She explained that as we get older, our skin becomes thinner and doesn't renew itself as quickly. Dead skin cells, leftover deodorant, and even bacteria can build up in ways we just don't see. Over time, this creates a kind of invisible film that regular soap and water alone can't wash away. She compared it to what happens when we forget to clean the corners of our kitchen. You wipe the counters every day, but unless you occasionally get in there with a little elbow grease, a residue builds up in the corners. The same thing can happen with our underarms. We shower and wash, but without gentle exfoliation, we're just scrubbing the surface. Underneath, old deodorant, sweat, and skin cells stubbornly hold on. I have to admit, I'd never once considered exfoliating my underarms. The idea sounded almost silly at first, like something only young people with fancy routines would do. But my doctor encouraged me to give it a try, promising it could make all the difference. So one evening, I took a soft washcloth and gently rubbed my underarms with warm water and a bit of mild soap, making small circles like she'd suggested. No harsh scrubbing, just enough to wake up the skin and lift away what had been left behind. I was shocked. The washcloth turned gray, even after I'd already showered. There it was, proof that what I couldn't see or smell was real. After that, I made it a habit. Just 2 or 3 times a week, I'd give my underarms a gentle exfoliation, taking a little extra time for myself. It was easy, almost meditative, one of those small rituals that remind you your body deserves care. Within a week, I noticed the difference. My skin felt smoother, land less bumpy, and best of all, the odor was gone. Completely gone. I felt confident wearing sleeveless blouses again, lifting my arms to hug my grandchildren, and even dancing around the kitchen without a second thought. The best part? I didn't need any expensive products. No scrubs with unpronounceable ingredients, no brushes or gadgets. Just a clean washcloth, warm water, and a little consistency. On occasion, I'd mix in a drop of gentle baby shampoo or unscented soap, especially after yard work or during hot summer days. And after exfoliating, I always made sure to rinse thoroughly. Any residue left behind can start the cycle all over again. But the benefits went beyond just odor. Exfoliating helped prevent those occasional underarm bumps and irritation that sometimes come with shaving or using deodorant. My skin felt softer, And the products I did use, like my favorite gentle deodorant, worked better, because they weren't just sitting on top of layers of old product and skin cells. And when I talked about this with my friends, I was surprised to find how many of them had struggled with the same issue, quietly believing it was just an unavoidable part of getting older. We don't talk enough about these little details. We're taught to be discreet and to handle things privately, but there's real power in sharing what we learn. When I told my daughter about my new routine, she was amazed. She started doing it herself, and then even taught her teenage daughter. 3 generations, all learning together that sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. It's easy to overlook self-care as we age, especially when so much of the world tells us we're no longer in the spotlight. But caring for ourselves is about more than appearances. It's about dignity, comfort, and yes, a little bit of joy. Every time I exfoliate my underarms now, I remember that I'm worthy of those small, gentle acts of love. I don't need to mask anything with heavy fragrances or hide away in bulky sweaters. I can step out into the world, knowing I'm fresh, clean, and confident, right down to the parts no one else sees. If you've never tried it, give it a go this week. Just 2 or 3 times, with a soft cloth and a patient hand. See how you feel, and don't be surprised if you catch yourself smiling at the results. It's never too late to learn something new, never too late to care for the skin you're in, and never too late to feel good in your own body. We may get older, but we never outgrow the need for kindness, to ourselves most of all. So here's to fresh starts, in every sense of the word. You deserve it. 3. Ignoring your shoes. Shoes are funny things, aren't they? We spend so much of our lives thinking about finding the right pair, the most comfortable fit, something that doesn't pinch our toes or hurt our arches. And once we finally find that perfect pair, oh, the relief. For me, it was a set of orthopedic sandals that I bought after my second knee surgery. Cushiony, supportive, and so easy to slip on and off. They became my constant companion, to the mailbox, to the grocery store, even out for walks in the garden. The years went by, and I hardly gave them a second thought, except to slip them on or tuck them under the bed at night. But here's what no one told me. Shoes, just like the rest of us, change as they age. And, more importantly, they have a sneaky way of holding on to the little secrets we'd rather forget, especially when it comes to odor. For the longest time, I never imagined that my beloved shoes could be the reason for that faint, sour smell in the hallway or the living room. I'd blame the grandkids' sneakers or even the family dog. Surely, I couldn't be the culprit. After all, I was fastidious about my hygiene. Daily showers, clean socks, fresh clothes. But my shoes? Well, they just sat quietly, soaking up the evidence of every step I took. It wasn't until one day, after my daughter and her family had come for a visit, that I realized something was off. My granddaughter, always the first to greet me with a hug, came running in from the backyard and stopped dead in her tracks by the door. She wrinkled her nose and looked at her shoes, then at mine. "Grandma, what's that smell?" she asked, her voice curious but not unkind. I looked down at my trusty sandals, and for the first time really noticed how worn they'd become. The insides were a little discolored, the fabric flattened, and the soles smooth from use. I picked them up and took a cautious sniff. There it was, a musty, almost cheesy odor that made me wince and laugh at the same time. So, it was me all along. That night, I did some late-night detective work. I searched online for smelly shoes, and was greeted with 1,000 tips, home remedies, and warnings. It turns out that as we get older, our feet change, too. The skin becomes thinner, and we may sweat less overall, but our sweat composition changes. If you take certain medications, struggle with circulation, or just spend more time in the same pair of shoes, the odor can build up even faster. And the kicker? Our sense of smell also isn't what it used to be. We might not notice the scent, but the people around us certainly do. I started to recall all the times I'd slipped on those shoes without socks. Just for a quick errand, I'd tell myself. Or the afternoon spent gardening, my feet getting a little damp, the dirt working its way into every crevice. I'd leave my shoes by the door to air out, but I never actually cleaned them. They were loyal, and I was loyal right back. Until, suddenly, I wasn't so sure. So, I decided to experiment. I read that many shoes, even the orthopedic ones, can be washed, at least the insoles, if not the whole shoe. I removed the insoles and gave them a gentle soak in warm water and baking soda. While they dried in the sunshine, I wiped out the insides of the sandals with a damp cloth and sprinkled a bit of baking soda inside. That night, I placed 2 dry tea bags, black tea, they said, works best, inside each shoe. I went to bed feeling oddly accomplished, as if I'd finally cracked the code to one of life's quieter mysteries. The next morning, what a difference! The musty odor was almost completely gone, replaced with a faint, earthy scent from the tea. My shoes looked fresher, and more importantly, I felt lighter, less anxious about what others might notice. I made it a weekly habit. Every Sunday afternoon, I'd give my shoes a spa day. I'd swap out the baking soda, lay the insoles in the sun, and rotate which pair I wore each day. Sometimes, I'd even treat myself to a new pair of socks. Bright colors, silly patterns, just for fun. But beyond the cleaning, I learned to be more mindful. I started to wear socks or footies with even my slip-on shoes, creating a barrier that helped absorb sweat before it could seep into the lining. For shoes that couldn't be washed, I made sure to air them out regularly, outside in the sun when I could, or near a vent if the weather wasn't cooperating. And if a pair seemed past its prime, I permitted myself to let them go, thanking them for the miles we'd walked together. It may sound like a small thing, but caring for my shoes changed how I saw myself. I was no longer the oblivious grandma with smelly feet. I was proactive, proud, and, if I'm honest, a little amused by how much I'd overlooked. My family noticed, too. My daughter would compliment me on my tidy entryway. My grandkids wouldn't hesitate to plop down beside me and tug off their shoes for a game or a cuddle. The real lesson, I realized, was about more than just odor. It was about honoring every part of myself, even the bits that didn't get much attention. Our shoes carry us through so much. Hospital visits, family gatherings, quiet walks alone. They hold stories in their soles, comfort in their linings. Giving them the same care I give the rest of my body felt like a gentle act of gratitude, a way to say thank you for the life I've lived and the adventures yet to come. So if you're reading this and nodding along, maybe glancing down at your favorite pair, consider this your gentle nudge. Take a look at your shoes, give them a little TLC, and see how you feel. You might be surprised at how something so small can restore a bit of confidence, a touch of freshness, and maybe even a spring in your step. After all, we never really stop growing and learning, do we? Sometimes, the best lessons come from the most unexpected places, even from the shoes on our own 2 feet. 4. Using too much fragrance to mask odors. There was a time in my life when a single spritz of perfume made me feel like myself again. The scent is such a powerful thing. It's tied to memory, comfort, and even identity. For as long as I can remember, I kept a bottle of my favorite perfume perched on my dresser. It was a classic scent, Chanel No. 5, that I'd dab on my wrists before church or a family gathering, a little ritual that made me feel elegant and put together, even when life was anything but. As the years passed, perfume became more than just a treat. It became something of a shield. When I retired, I had fewer reasons to dress up, but my morning spritz never went away. On lonely days, it was like armor, a reminder of days spent dancing with my husband or laughing with friends over coffee. But, I'll be honest, somewhere along the way, I started reaching for that bottle not just for joy, but out of habit. And, I confess, sometimes out of anxiety. If I caught even the faintest whiff of old lady smell, a term I've always disliked, but you know the one, I'd give myself another spray, hoping no one would notice anything but my floral cloud. It wasn't just perfume, either. Lotions, scented powders, body sprays, they all began to pile up in my bathroom cabinet. I told myself it was about feeling fresh, but in truth, I was trying to cover up what I thought was a failing. The thing is, bodies change as we age. Skin gets drier, metabolism shifts, and, yes, the natural scent of our bodies changes too. What I didn't realize was that all the layers of fragrance weren't helping. In fact, they were making things worse. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. One afternoon, I attended my granddaughter's birthday party. The house was full, children running around, balloons everywhere, the scent of cake in the air. I'd spritzed on my usual perfume, then a bit more for good measure, just in case. As I leaned in to hug my neighbor, I noticed her eyes watered ever so slightly, and she gave me a polite but distant smile. Later that evening, my daughter gently mentioned that my perfume was a bit stronger than usual. I was mortified. For all my efforts to smell good, had Irene overwhelming those around me? That night, I sat at my kitchen table, bottle in hand, and thought about what I was doing. I remember reading that our sense of smell changes as we get older. What seems faint to us might be much stronger to others. And our skin, now more delicate, doesn't hold fragrance the same way it did in our youth. Sometimes, the scents we loved for decades become sharp or sour. And when perfume mixes with natural body odors, especially if we haven't truly addressed their root causes, it can create a confusing, sometimes unpleasant, combination. So, I started experimenting. I put the perfume aside for a few days, as difficult as it was, and focused on truly getting clean instead of just covering up. I made small, thoughtful changes to my hygiene routine, a gentle washcloth to exfoliate, rotating my pajamas and sheets more often, and making sure my favorite scarves and sweaters were freshly laundered. After a week, I noticed a shift. My skin felt lighter and less weighed down. My family hugged me a little closer, and my grandkids didn't sneeze as often when I kissed their cheeks. But, oh, I missed my little spritz of confidence. I wondered if there was a way to keep a touch of fragrance in my life without overdoing it. That's when I discovered something simple, but wonderful: moderation. Instead of dousing myself in layers of scent, I'd spray just a little on the inside of my elbows, or on a scarf that I could remove later if I wanted. I chose lighter, alcohol-free mists, and kept unscented baby wipes in my purse for quick freshening up when out and about. It wasn't about masking, it was about enhancing what was already there. What surprised me most was how my sense of self changed. I no longer worried if others were quietly overwhelmed by my scent, or if I was covering up rather than caring for myself. I felt more at ease, more authentic, comfortable in my skin, imperfections and all. I started to notice the natural sense of the world around me again. The crispness of fresh laundry, the sweetness of blooming lilies in my neighbor's yard, and even the comforting aroma of coffee first thing in the morning. It's funny, isn't it? We spend so much of our lives searching for ways to appear flawless when sometimes the real answer is letting go and starting fresh. If you, like me, have ever felt anxious about your scent or worried about what others might think, let me reassure you, the solution is not more perfume. It's gentle care, honest reflection, and a bit of self-forgiveness. Give yourself permission to pause and reset. Try using less fragrance, or switching to lighter, natural scents. Focus on true cleanliness, not just appearances. Keep a favorite scent for special occasions, a little signature, a whisper rather than a shout. Most of all, remember that those who love you are drawn to your warmth, your laughter, and your presence, not just the way you smell. We all deserve to feel fresh, confident, and cared for. Age may change our bodies, but it can also free us from old expectations. Embrace your natural self, and if you choose to wear fragrance, let it be a grace note, not the whole symphony. You've earned the right to feel good in your skin, without a cloud of doubt hanging over you. So the next time you reach for that bottle, pause and smile. You are enough, just as you are. 5. Not washing your hair accessories. It's the little things in life that make us feel like ourselves. For me, it's always been my morning routine. Brushing my hair just so, tying it back with my favorite velvet scrunchie, or sliding a silver barrette into place. There's a sense of ritual and dignity in these simple acts. A reminder that no matter how many birthdays pass or how many changes life brings, there's comfort in caring for ourselves. But I'll admit something I never thought twice about for most of my life. I rarely washed my hairbrushes, combs, or those cute little hair ties and clips that gathered at the bottom of my purse. I washed my hair, of course, and kept my towels clean, but my brush? My trusty blue comb? My collection of fabric headbands? I just used them, set them back on the dresser, and went about my day. It wasn't until recently that I realized how much those overlooked items can matter, not just for how our hair looks, but for how we feel, and even how we smell. The wake-up call was small and a little embarrassing. One night, while reading in bed, I reached up to adjust my ponytail and caught an odd whiff, a mixture of old perfume, faint sweat, and something I couldn't quite name. At first, I thought it was my pillowcase. I washed it, changed my sheets, and even aired out the bedroom, but the scent returned, always after I fixed my hair. It wasn't until I picked up my old velvet scrunchie and gave it a sniff that the truth hit me. It was my hair accessory, not the linens, not even my shampoo. All that time, I'd been looping the same soft band through my clean hair, day after day, never once thinking it might need a bath of its own. A little research opened my eyes. Our hair and scalp, especially as we get older, produce oils and shed skin cells, and if we use products like hairspray, mousse, or dry shampoo, those residues build up too. Every time we run a brush through our hair, a little bit of that life's debris collects in the bristles. Scrunchies and hairbands soak up oil, sweat, and scent just like our pillowcases do. Over time, even if we're showering regularly and taking care of our hair, we might be reintroducing odor and grime every time we reuse those beloved accessories. It made sense. Just as we wash our clothes, our pillowcases, and our hats, we should be taking care of what touches our hair daily. But I had never heard this advice from my mother or grandmother. Maybe back then, hair was kept shorter, or maybe they were simply too busy to fuss over a brush. But now, with more time and a little more self-awareness, I decided to start fresh. My first mission was my hairbrush. I pulled out the trapped hair, honestly, a little shocked by how much had gathered, then filled the sink with warm water and a splash of gentle shampoo. I let the brush soak, swirling it around, then used an old toothbrush to gently clean between the bristles. The water turned cloudy with soap and, I have to believe, years of forgotten residue. When I rinsed and set the brush in the sun to dry, it looked almost new. Next came the accessories. My collection of scrunchies, elastic bands, headbands, and the little fabric clips that had traveled with me everywhere from Sunday services to garden walks. I tossed them in a mesh laundry bag and sent them through the gentle cycle with my delicates. When they came out, clean and fluffy, I couldn't help but laugh at how much brighter they looked, and how much better they smelled. It only took a few days for me to notice a difference. My scalp stopped itching, my hair felt fresher and longer, and that odd scent on my pillowcase was finally gone. It was like opening the windows in spring and letting a breeze sweep through the house. Suddenly everything seemed lighter, clearer, more comfortable. But the benefits weren't just physical. I felt a small, quiet pride in tending to the details. These days, when my granddaughter comes over and digs through my drawer for a fancy hairband, I know she's choosing from clean, cared-for options. When friends compliment my hair or ask how I keep it so healthy, I share my new secret: don't forget to wash your brush. We laugh, and often, someone confides that they hadn't thought of it either. If you're like me, organized in some ways, a little sentimental in others, you might have a few accessories that hold special memories. The headband you wore to your daughter's wedding, the barrette you picked up on a trip, the scrunchie that's lasted longer than any fashion trend. Caring for them feels almost like caring for old friends, a small act of respect, a way to honor the stories they carry. Here's what I do now, and maybe you'll find it helpful too. Once a week, I set aside a little time for my hair care housekeeping. I pull out the hair from my brush and give it a proper wash with shampoo and baking soda, then let it dry in a sunny window. All my fabric bands and headbands go in a mesh bag and into the laundry. For clips and barrettes, I wipe them down with a damp cloth. It's simple, quick, and makes a world of difference. Life has taught me that we're never too old to learn something new, and it's never too late to care for ourselves in small, thoughtful ways. Our routines may change with time, but the comfort and dignity of feeling clean, fresh, and put together is a gift we can always give ourselves. So the next time you tie back your hair or smooth a brush through silver strands, remember, it's not just about looking nice for the world, it's about feeling good for you. Clean accessories, like a fresh pillowcase or a crisp blouse, can lift your spirit and brighten your day. You deserve that lightness, that confidence, that gentle sense of self-care. Every detail matters, especially the ones only you will notice. Let's promise each other, no more overlooked brushes, no more mystery smells, no more ignoring the little things that add up to a big difference. We've earned the right to feel wonderful in every way, every single day. 6. Sleeping in worn pajamas and sheets too long. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. There's a unique comfort in the world of pajamas and well-loved sheets, isn't there? After a long day, whether it's been spent running errands, gardening, or catching up on the phone with an old friend, there's nothing quite like slipping into your softest nightgown and crawling into a bed made with familiar, worn-in linens. It feels like a hug from the past, a ritual you've repeated so many times it becomes woven into the fabric of your days and nights. For years, my winter flannel nightgown and favorite cotton sheets were my quiet treasures. I'd wear that nightgown through cold spells and rainy seasons, wash it only when it started to look tired, and rotate my sheets when I remembered. Why change what feels so cozy and safe? But as time passed, little things started to change. I'd wake up sometimes and notice a faint musty scent clinging to my pillow. My skin, which I had always taken pride in keeping healthy, began to feel less fresh. Sometimes I'd find myself scratching an itch that had no obvious cause. At first, I blamed the heater or dry air, anything but the familiar softness of my night clothes and sheets. I didn't want to believe that something so comforting could be part of the problem. Then one day, after a coffee date, my oldest friend from college stayed over. We spent hours reminiscing and giggling like teenagers, and when she left in the morning, she gently suggested, "You know, changing your pillowcases a bit more often might help with that stuffy feeling." I was surprised, maybe a little embarrassed, but mostly grateful for her honesty. That morning, with sunlight streaming through my window, I realized that loving something doesn't mean never letting it go for a wash. Sometimes, love means caring for it, and for yourself, just a little more. Curious, I started reading about what happens when we keep pajamas and sheets on too long. I learned that while we sleep, our bodies continue to work hard. We shed skin cells, millions each night, and our bodies release natural oils, even if we don't notice. Some nights, especially under warm blankets or during hot flashes, we sweat without realizing it. Add in the occasional snack in bed, a midnight cup of tea, and the simple act of breathing, yes, even drool. And our bedding becomes a quiet collector of life's little leftovers. Over time, these invisible guests become a playground for bacteria and can start to create odors, irritate skin, and even disrupt our sleep. Doctors recommend changing sheets at least once a week, and pajamas every 2 or 3 wears, especially during the summer, or if you tend to sweat at night. I remember thinking, but I'm not dirty when I go to bed. And yet, no matter how clean we are at bedtime, our bodies never really rest. They're busy rejuvenating, protecting, and yes, shedding. So I made a few small changes. I picked up an extra set of sheets in a cheerful pattern and started rotating them weekly. I set a reminder on my calendar, an act of self-care, not a chore. I also invested in a few more nightgowns and PJ sets, so there was always a fresh one ready. At first, it seemed a little fussy. Did it matter? The answer, I soon discovered, was yes. The first night I slipped between newly washed sheets, wearing crisp pajamas. I slept deeper and woke up feeling truly refreshed. My skin felt calmer and less itchy. Even my mood was lighter, as if my whole room had taken a breath of fresh air. I started to look forward to Sheet Day, a small celebration of comfort and care. There's more, too. Clean bedding can help keep your immune system strong, especially as you age. Fewer allergens and irritants mean better sleep, and better sleep means more energy for everything you love. As for pillows and mattresses, I learned to sprinkle a little baking soda on the mattress every month or so and vacuum it up, and to wash my pillows twice a year. It all adds up, creating a home that's fresher and more inviting. This new routine soon became one of my favorite acts of self-kindness. Instead of seeing it as a burden, I came to see it as a gift to myself, an everyday luxury, like fresh flowers on the table or a hot cup of coffee in the morning. I told my daughter about it, and she started doing the same. My granddaughter now loves to help me pick out which sheets to use, sometimes polka dots, sometimes flowers, always with a smile. It became our little tradition. Of course, it isn't about perfection. Life happens. There are still weeks when I let the laundry wait until the old flannel nightgown makes an encore appearance. But now, I do it with awareness and intention, knowing that the comfort I cherish can last longer when I treat it with gentle care. And if a favorite set of pajamas or sheets finally gives out, I let them go with gratitude for the years they kept me cozy. If you're reading this, maybe thinking of your favorite nightgown or the sheets that remind you of good times, I hope you'll see this as a gentle nudge. Not a criticism, but an invitation. Give yourself the gift of fresh, clean bedding. Change your pajamas a little more often. Let yourself feel the difference. You deserve that softness, that freshness, that simple comfort each night. It's not about anyone else's expectations. It's about honoring yourself, your health, and your happiness. After all, we've all earned the right to feel safe, clean, and cared for, especially at the end of the day, in the place where we rest our heads and dream. So go ahead, fluff your pillows, change your sheets, and slip into something fresh tonight. You might just wake up feeling lighter, brighter, and even a little more loved. If you're still with me after this journey through life's quiet details, I want you to know how much I appreciate your company. These little habits, the ones we rarely talk about, the ones that slip beneath our radar, aren't just about staying clean. They're about honoring ourselves and cherishing the days we're given. Looking back, I realize how easy it was to overlook the simplest acts of self-care. Who would have thought that a fresh pair of pajamas, a clean brush, or a sun-warmed pair of shoes could bring so much comfort, or that a soft, laundered sheet could make us feel so deeply at home in our skin? What I hope you take away is not just a list of chores, but a gentle reminder. You deserve every bit of freshness, confidence, and comfort. You deserve to feel good when you wake up and when you lay your head down at night. The world may try to tell us that aging is about losing things, but I see it differently. It's a time to rediscover small joys, to claim a little more peace, and to give ourselves the kindness we've always shown others. So tonight, as you settle in, let yourself feel proud of the ways you care for yourself. You've earned it every single day. And if you'd like, share a tip or memory in the comments below. Your wisdom might just brighten someone else's journey too.